Hi everyone, happy Saturday. I think this is when this is going up. So, just showing we're going to be starting off with my Musuem Aquarelle watercolor pencils by Caran. I decided to use some of my really nice art supplies today. Or this week. I don't know. I was feeling a little bit extra. And it's one of those things where if you're going to splurge on something, you might as well use it. So we are going with just Caran products today, other than like the gel pens and the paint. But the watercolor pencils are, again, the Musuem Aquarelle 72 set, and then the colored pencils will be the Caran Luminance 100 set. I think that's right. And then we're going to finish off with a little bit of watercolor paint, the Colioro watercolors in the different golds and silver set, and then just a tiny bit of gel pen to round this out. So I'm coloring a digital download, if you can believe it. I have so many, and all of them are untouched, but I have really been enjoying the art from Sugah is a artist that I've known for a while, but he so those Cat 22 books I have that I really like, he did those. Um he contacted me a few months ago and I did a review of the some bunny. Oh my gosh, now I can't think of the name of it. It's a bunny featured coloring book. Something for every bunny. There you go. Which is super cute. Then I came across his Etsy download page, which is very, very dangerous. I downloaded a whole lot of images. But he recently published this 4-character series from A Christmas Carol, and they are adorable. I immediately was like, I want these, and I actually was like, hey, I want to color them. So we are starting off with Ebenezer Scrooge, which is the cat in the series, which feels rather appropriate. But anyway, he's like my new favorite artist. I mean, he's been around for a while, but like I recently is when I really got into his stuff. So in the description, I have shared his social media pages, and the direct download to this 4-character set from his Etsy shop. He does do like freebies and stuff for his Facebook group. He actually does coloring videos and everything too, which I think is super cool. I joked that I just don't get on Facebook very much, and it's not and he teased me about it, but it's not like an 8. I guess it's kind of an age thing. Like, I mostly use Facebook for the friends that I have on there that I don't have on other social media. My Facebook is my filtered content for my family and friends. And because Facebook's not very good at showing you posts from pages that you like or people that you follow, unless you are just checking that page like every single day. It gets frustrating a lot of times. I don't see posts that I want to see. I see all the junk I don't want to see. And Facebook tends to be the worst thing about it for me. And but that's where I don't post any coloring related stuff on my personal Facebook page. I mostly just post memes, photos for a lot of family that's on there. So just family related stuff. And that's about it. It's just mostly to keep up with family and the few not my non-coloring friends. So I didn't realize he had so much content on his Facebook page. So I highly recommend you check that out. And yeah, so I would like to color this whole set. There actually was a freebie, a fifth piece that was on his Facebook page that I was able to get. I think it's the Jacob Marley one. And so I would like to actually finish this series. And I may do them all the same way with the watercolor pencils and everything. This was new to me paper. This was paper I think I got based on Colorfully Optimistic's recommendations. I'll have to go and look and see. It's a Nina cardstock, um, a bright white, and it did really well. The watercolor pencils, I had to add a lot more water to the paper, I guess because of the thickness of it, to get them fully activated and saturated. The pencils did all right. What it handled the watercolor really well. No buckling or anything. So I feel like it's a pretty good solid mixed media type paper. So I will put that down in the description. And so the cool thing about these images is that you get a shaded version like this, which you can see has the shading and the shadows already put in. There's one that just has the shading around the frame, no other shading. And then there's one that's on a page where the background, I believe, is text from the book, which looks really cool and like arty. I ended up going with the shaded version because I am not very good at overall like light sources and shading. I either do like an outline, like I shade everything, or I just don't shade at all because I'm just lazy. So I went with the one that already had shadows put in. However, when selecting my pencils, I did go with a darker color in the shadowed areas, just to enhance them a little bit, and I feel like that worked really well. So, um, but no, I had a lot of fun doing this. It's just finding the time to do it. Y'all know how things are for me, and uh, honestly, the Museum Aquarelle pencils, they are pricey. I'm not going to lie. Like, they are indulgent. And it's just a 72 set. Like, I desperately need them to have 100 or 120 colors. However, they are hands down my favorite watercolor pencils. Like, they are just so pigmented. True watercolor pencils. We're not talking about ink tints here since they're, ink based. But like a true watercolor pencil, I like these better in Albert Dürer. I feel like I get more vibrancy and color pigmentation. The Albert Dürer, you don't have to put as much pressure on them as you do other more budget friendly watercolor pencils. The Albert Dürer are a close second. So, but these are hands down my favorite. Like, I really could, if I worked on a couple layers with the watercolor pencils, I probably wouldn't even need regular color pencils. I would be happy with the color pigmentation I would get just from the Museum Aquarelles. So they are pricey, and if you don't use a lot of watercolor pencils and you're happy with the ones you have, I wouldn't recommend these to everybody because they're just really pricey. However, um, especially with the buying I've been doing lately, I feel like there's a lesson to be learned here. Like, am I better served just using even the pricier products, and then if they're open stock, being able to purchase open stock as needed? Would that be actually cheaper than buying a bunch of the cheap stuff to use? Cheaper, I shouldn't say cheap, but less expensive stuff to use, and not being as happy with the experience with them. So there's a lesson here, and I don't think I've learned that lesson yet. But I'm going to pass that thought off to you because, if anything, I am the poster child for excessive buying, and y'all should, like, I'm here to be a lesson for you. I'm here. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. I used to joke all the time. I've been married 3 times, and I told Chris, my friend, Christopher Michaels, by the way, he has a channel on YouTube as well. Go check him out. I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, not quite on my way to Elizabeth Taylor levels. It's not going to be Elizabeth Taylor levels. This is it. I said if this one didn't work out, I was just gonna just call it good because if I couldn't get it figured out by the third one, I just this just isn't for me, right? Like, but thankfully, the third one had in this case, the third one really has been the charm. So, it just took me a little while to figure things out, right? Like, I gained a lot of wisdom in life, made a lot of mistakes as a teenager and in my 20s. Not a ton of like really bad mistakes, but like life trajectory type mistakes. And I gained a lot of wisdom. So I guess if anybody wants some, the one thing I would tell anybody is don't get married to your, at least in your late 20s. Don't do it. Don't do it. Give yourself, and I wouldn't even seriously date till you're in like your mid 20s. Because, and I'm not saying that works for everybody. There are some people, they get married, they're high school sweethearts, they get married, they stay together 40, 50 years, you know, not, I'm saying this as a blanket, I think most people would benefit from, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I'm not dissing anybody that got married early or anything. I'm just saying it certainly wasn't the best choice for me. I joke I went from my parents' house to my first husband's house because he was a year older than me, and we started dating, and like he was the type that wanted to take care of everything and be in charge, and I was very much a people pleaser. So I had been with my parents, you know, straight A kind of kid, uh, trying to be perfect, trying not to get in any trouble. And I started dating him like right as I was going into college, and like I didn't give myself any time to be independent or on my own. And well, again, with pearls of wisdom here, learn how to be on your own. Learn how to be single. Learn how to exist on your own, in this economy, in this current state of not being able to afford, you know, being able to rent or whatever. A lot of people are having to live with their parents right now or live with family, because rent is just absolutely ridiculous right now for most people and unaffordable for many. So I'm not saying like you have to go out and be on your own. Like you can still live with your family, but like learn to manage your own finances, learn to make your own decisions with your money and things like that. Like learn how to be on your own. That would be a man. We got all weird subjects start here. But anyway, the whole point of that was I joked. My brother's 12 years younger than me, and I said like I felt like I went from the perfect people pleaser to like the black sheep of the family, because I just, it took a while for me to find myself, and finding myself meant I had to go against the grain of what was expected of me. And like, I have a great relationship with my parents. I love them. They're very supportive now. But there was some transition there. There was some struggle. And so I feel like my brother's probably the golden child now. But that's okay. I told him, I said, let's learn from my mistakes, and you just don't do what I did. And I think he's learned from me. So at least, at least I served as a lesson for somebody else. So I take a weird level of pride in that. Anyway, going on all that, I really don't talk a lot about my past, I guess. And I don't know why, because I really just don't care. And like I said, I may have little things I've learned about myself or nuggets of wisdom that, you know, could prevent somebody else from doing some of the dumb stuff I did. Um, but here, by the way, here I am, starting to activate all this. I had started with minimal water because I always do, because these are my favorite pencils to use in Amazon books because they take so little water to activate. Same with Albert Durer. Um, it's the cheaper, more budget friendly pencils that sometimes take a lot more water to activate, which is hard on Amazon paper because it's so thin and fragile. So the more expensive pencils actually work a whole lot better to activate because they just require less water. Same with like the Neocolor 2s, if you're using those, they don't require a lot of water. That's, I guess, what makes, because of their pigmentation, that's, what causes the price of them to go up. But these are my favorite to use on Amazon paper. However, I use very little water. And so then I started doing this page again, not using a lot of water, and I noticed I just wasn't getting the pigment to dissolve like I wanted to. So I really had to like saturate the paper. And like I said, because it's a thick, more copy type, not copy paper, cardstock. Um, I guess that's why. But I added a lot of water to it and it didn't phase it at all. Like it did great. So, um, but anyway, how's everybody doing? It's been a month, I think, since I've done a color and chat. That was the Golden Girls trivia from last month. I don't know if I'll get a Golden Girls page done this month. We'll try. We'll try. I am drinking some tea because my energy level is non existent right now. So lots happened. I really, I'm sitting here like, I could talk for 2 hours about my life, and I have, right, Chris? But if you're watching, I could talk for 2 hours about my dumb life choices, and it would probably be very entertaining. But we'll save that for another day. Um, hey, at least it's positive. Positive now. It's hindsight, 2020, and all that. Yeah, a lot's been going on. My husband kind of summed it up best this week, where he was like, "It just feels like we can't catch our breath without something else going wrong." And it's not even like severely badly wrong, but like just enough that it causes chaos in our life. And like I told my therapist yesterday, I said, I just want stability. Like, I'm not asking for great news. I'm not asking for excellent news, or even good at that. What I'm asking for is just stability, no news. Can we just have that for a while, like a month, where nothing happens and we can just do our routine and do our thing and not have to worry about anything, right? And I mean, we had during the summer, we had our, I don't know why this is, hopefully y'all are not seeing where it's freezing like that. That is weird. Let me close Chrome, see if that helps. Just free up some memory. But we have upstairs, I can't think of the name of them. They're individual cooling and heat units you put in the rooms. You see them a lot in places like New York apartments and stuff. It's one unit to one room. It's not a window air conditioner, it's on the wall. And when we moved in, we had a big unit, but it wasn't big enough for the house. And so the second floor for years has not gotten super hot or cold, but the temperature up there is definitely warm or cool, because the unit just wasn't reaching up there to accurately cool or heat. So when we got our unit replaced a couple years ago, we had those upstairs units installed. And like last winter was great. It actually helped. It helps keep the downstairs warmer and cooler when the upstairs is at an optimal temperature. I've noticed that. And so things were working great. Our utility bills have been awesome. Like I had no complaints. Like everything was working great. Then I noticed an error code on those units upstairs. They are single units for the two main bedrooms, but they are connected like on the same line and on the same thing. So I noticed an error code on both of them. And we had the AC heat people come out, HVAC technician come out and basically say that we had two fried boards and they were well, they only told us one, and it is covered under warranty, but like the labor wasn't, so it was going to be pricey just to get that replaced. And it took 6 weeks to get that board. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Well, we don't use the upstairs much anyway, but still, it's kind of annoying, right? Like, so they finally get it and they swap it out, and come to find out there were two boards that were fried, and they were hoping the one that took 6 weeks to get here was the right one because the other one was going to take 6 months. And sure enough, it wasn't the right one. So we've got to wait like 6 months for this board to come in, and I am not pleased. It is a carrier brand system, which means like it's all US parts, it's all made in the US, which is nice, but apparently there's a backlog. It seems like there's a backlog with everything these days, but so little annoyed about that. But I've noticed this winter, as it's suddenly gotten cooler, that I'm experiencing a lot of drafts where I sit because I'm right next to the stairs. And so now, where it's cooler upstairs again, I'm feeling those drafts again that weren't there last winter. So a little, again, little annoying. Just minor enough to annoy us, and there's no telling how much the labor will cost to put that stupid thing back in whenever it comes in. Um, and I hope this isn't just the start. They don't know how. The guy said ladybugs because he saw some ladybugs on it. And I'm like, there's no way, because the ladybugs didn't start up until October, November. And this has been like this since summer. So, I don't know. Little concerned about that. Um, we'll give them a chance to fix it this time. I guess if it fries again and I don't like their answer, I will have to call another group. This is the same group that installed it. And they, like I said, I thought they did a great job. So it's a little surprising with what's happening now. But anyway, it's little things like that. We had a couple things go wrong with my husband's car. Both our cars are basically antiques at this point. One's a 2003, the other one's a 98 truck. Because we both work remotely, we don't have to travel much. We don't commute much. Going to jump in here to say, of course, as you can see, I finished the Musuem Aquarelle, and it really looks nice and bright. I mean, technically I could have left it as is, but I wanted to see what happened on this paper with pencil because I haven't used this paper before, and I wanted to see if I could deepen the color. And if you saw the picture in the intro, like, it really does make a difference. So I've got all my Luminance pencils pulled out that I'm using, usually 3 sets of 3, or 3 sets, a set of 3 usually for each color. Funny enough, the Luminance pencils do not have the same color names as the Musuem Aquarelle. There is some color name differences, so, and shades and stuff. But I mean, they were pretty complimentary, so I didn't have a lot of trouble finding the pencils that I needed. But like, anyway, so because the used car market's been so awful the last 5 years, we've basically just been trying to wait for it to get better before we have to buy a car. We definitely won't want to overpay for a vehicle, and then, you know, anyway. Um, so we had some things go wrong with his car that we had to get fixed. I think he had to put a new battery in it. He's had some issues with one of his headlights. That's been an issue for years, but it's been an issue again lately. I think we had to get something tweaked on the truck. We had a plumbing pipe under the house come loose. Fortunately, under our house is not fully accessible via crawl space. because of the way it's almost 100-year-old house, and they didn't scoop out like the crawl space fully like they typically do, I guess, now with new houses. So there's some parts of the house that just aren't very accessible, and this is one of those you can't just crawl under the house and have access to. So we have like, this was a pipe that came loose a few years back when we were getting the AC unit done, funny enough, and we were able to get a plumber in to repair it through like a little hole under our sink that we had to cut for them to have access to run stuff. All our floors right now, because of the foundation work and the running new duct work and everything, we've had to cut little access points in like all our holes in our floors on the first floor, and so now we're going to redo them, but we're going to try to redo them as, as much close together as we can. So yeah, we have all these little areas where like we have plywood down instead of hardwood, and it's it's a work in progress, let's just say. Um, but apparently the plumber didn't do a great job. I don't know if there's just an issue with that particular pipe, but we figured out it came loose again. And this time my husband attempted to fix it on his own, which still is tedious because the way you have to get down, reach down in that hole and access the pipe, and it's just awkward and annoying. And I think, well, hopefully we have that fixed. If it does it again, I guess we're just going to have to call another plumber. But it's just little things like that, which probably in the grand scheme of things doesn't seem like a lot, but it all adds up when it comes together. Um, like the cats. So the cats are doing well. We took all four in. I have to travel to Seattle for work in a couple weeks. So I took them all in for like a recheck of, some of the health issues they have, and just making sure they're all in good shape before I go. So hopefully there aren't any surprises. And it's like almost every one of them have like something minor going on. Like, Leroy's good for the most part, but he has another liver bacterial infection, which for some cats apparently is not uncommon. It's nothing we're doing, it's nothing we can really do to prevent it. It's just sometimes the way his digestive system works, like sometimes um, bacteria gets in his liver, and just like his liver reacts weird to it, and it just causes his liver enzymes to go up, and it causes an infection. And then that's when he gets to not wanting to eat a bunch, he gets nauseous. So we had him on one round of antibiotics, then rechecked. His liver enzymes are still up, he's still not acting completely normal. So he's got two more rounds of antibiotics. The liver stuff's really hard to get rid of, and we've had to do this before. So he's got that going on, and he's not loving. He's being picky about eating. He's just being, you can tell he doesn't feel great. So I'm hoping that just gets better over the next few weeks. He goes back for a recheck the Friday after I come back. Actually, I think the Friday before Christmas. Reaper Cheap, his blood work was fantastic. We hadn't done a senior wellness on him before. But because he has constant drainage in his ear, which in a kid you would just get surgery to put those tubes in, but we can't do that with him because he's a cat. So we try to keep it dried up as much as possible so he's not scratching or shaking his head much. But he's getting to the point where he's like hiding from me when I have the drops. Like, he just does not want us to get near him. And he had the beginnings of a hematoma in his ear when she was looking at him, and it's gotten worse the last few days. So he's got to go in Monday to have that drained. Honestly, I'm shocked that has not happened sooner. Um, he also has like, so it's something going on that side of his head where like he's also draining through his nose, like he's very snotty, but he doesn't have an infection. It's just, it's like it's producing too much liquid on that side of his head. um so we're just managing it the best we can. But anyway, I think the hematoma was pretty uncomfortable. He has been a little more standoffish the last couple days. I just hope we can get it drained and it just doesn't keep coming back. So there's that. Plus, he had to get it's called Silencia. It's a shot that was developed for cats to help with arthritis. And we used it for both Bagheera and Scamper for a long time and saw like, I saw a huge difference in Bagheera and a really big difference in Scamper with it. And so Reef Chief's got arthritis. We confirmed it in like his back legs and his back area. So he's now on a Silencia shot monthly. And he probably would be feeling pretty good if it wasn't for his ear. Um, Bagheera, his Cushing's is being managed well. He is keeping his weight stable. His thyroid was up a little bit, so we do have to add a little bit more thyroid med to see if that helps. And he has really bad arthritis in his legs, probably from where he's not super, he's just like a little chubby right now, but he was pretty overweight for a number of years. Um, and we were able to successfully get his weight down, but I imagine that's just done a number on his legs over the years. And so he's got some pretty bad arthritis. And the Silencia was helping. We stopped it when we did all this other medication for Cushing's because she just wanted to limit how much medication he had at first, just to make sure we weren't overloading his system. But now he's in pain. We've got to add the Silencia. The gabapentin doesn't do anything really for the arthritis pain. It probably helps some, but it doesn't help like the Silencia shot does. So we're trying, he's on the edge of an increased dose, so we're trying the lower dose first to see if it helps. But I was like, well, would it do any good to get him to lose some more weight? Because 16.6, I mean, he is a large framed cat. The original vet I had there years ago said if he was around like 14, 15 pounds, he'd probably be actually average, decent size for him. Um, he's built like a Maine Coon. But I asked her about that, and she's like, "Well, the problem is with everything he's taking with the meds and stuff like that, his metabolism's like zero right now." And she said, even if you tried to limit his food, she's like, "I just don't know how much weight he would lose." And she's like, "I don't really think it would have a huge impact." So yeah, it's just all little things. Winry, her kidney values are great, actually a little better than they were in June. What else did we check on her? She's looking great. The biggest thing is she was having some pickiness about eating, which she eats like a bird anyway, so when she just stops eating, it's really concerning. But she was having some issues with just gas, I guess, in her intestine and like things moving like they should. So we tried Reglan. That's the nicest way I can put it. We tried some Reglan for a few days. That caused some irritation. I think made her even more uncomfortable. So the vet also suggested just doing some Catlax, even though she didn't think she was like constipated or anything. And that seems to have weirdly done the trick. Is all she needed was a little bit of, and it's just her age, just getting older. Things, everything slows down when you get older. Am I right? Oh, it's funny. It's funny because it's true. Um, but that's the thing. Like I said, they're all in relatively good health, but there's just all these minor things, and it just, like I said, it just keeps happening. So one of the things I mentioned is that I'm going to do a 2024 plans video later this month. I actually have a bunch of planner stuff for next year I've already got. And I know some things I want to do, some challenges next year for myself and for coloring. And so I'm going to do a 2024 plans video later this month. And one thing I'm going to talk about is supplies and books. So if you've been around for a minute, you might notice that I wouldn't say have a problem. Well, I don't know. My husband would call it a problem. But I I work hard, so I splurge on a lot of things that I like coloring books, coloring supplies, video games, woobles, things like that. And but my problem comes into that I have fallen into a trap of stress buying. So if I'm really stressed out and I don't have time or energy to color, I try to tack on, move over to my other hobby of buying coloring stuff. Um, and that comes in big times of stress. And we've been through a little bit of stress this year. Are you kidding me? This year's been awful. Um, and so I've been stress buying a little bit. Excuse me, by the way. I've been stress buying a little bit, and um, it's not like financially it's fine. We're fine. It's fine. I'm very fortunate that I can do that. But one of the big things that happened is my husband's being laid off of his role with his company. And not going to go in a lot of details, but that will be effective in January. Um, and we found out like mid-November, I think. So I mean, they gave him plenty of time. I'm glad for that. But it's a lot. We will be fine, even with just me being, I guess, the if I need to hold down the fort for a while by myself, we're fine. We, like I said, we live. This this is going to sound funny coming out of my mouth, but other than my penchant for donations to cat rescues and my purchasing of hobby stuff, we tend to live pretty frugally. And just because we both work remote and we're fortunate we're in a lower cost of living area. Well, right now, nowhere is a lower cost of living area, but like we have a lower house payment. Anything we need to do, the house right now is mostly cosmetic, so it can be pushed off for as long as needed, things like that. We've saved up to do renovations and stuff. So, like, it's fine. Um, and I'm hoping this is a great thing for him because I hope he can find something that he really enjoys doing. And, I've found in the past that when, I've had one thing like this, something like this go wrong, usually a better opportunity is coming along the way. So, we are trying to hold on to that, but that type of news is hard. I know of some other people that have went through that themselves or had a lot of people. I'm gonna have my little rant moment. Um, just because the stock market's doing well, doesn't mean regular people are doing well. Just because rich people are doing well, it does not mean the economy is good and that other people aren't struggling. Um, I have heard of more layoffs this year than I have heard in a long time. Um, Tech companies, other types of companies, his type of company is usually a pretty stable one that, they have occasional restructurings and stuff, but for the most part, that hasn't ever been a huge concern. So that was very surprising. The company I work for has had a number of layoffs this year, which has not helped our stress levels. Um, and it's happening more and more. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I get so mad when everybody's acting like I don't understand why people are mad because, inflation is barely going up anymore, this that. Well, it may not be going up, but that doesn't mean that the years that all these prices got hiked up, they're not going back down. So the damage has already been done. We're not worried about the future damage right now. We're worried about the current damage where you're paying like $8 for a pack of Oreos. Or some crazy price for a pack of eggs or something like that. Like, I mean, the cost of living has went up so much for people just because of past inflation. And that's the thing. They want to assure us that it's fine because inflation isn't going up right now, which, by the way, that inflation rate does not cover things like food and housing and car payments and things like that. It only includes certain areas, none of which most people see day to day, which is ridiculous. But what they don't like to talk about is the fact that all the prices that have jacked up the last 3 or 4 years aren't going back down. And we saw that a lot with Black Friday as well. I probably talked about it a little bit, but like Black Friday sales were a joke. I got mad. I think I told y'all in that supply haul, like I was telling y'all real prices because I was seeing this mess where companies were marking up stuff to higher than it was, you know, 2 weeks prior to Black Friday and then putting a 10% coupon on it or saying it's a sale and it's the same exact price, and it just irritates the fire out of me. Like, just the audacity. Like, I don't understand why you think people out here are buying big screen TVs when they are trying to, buy food for the week. I just there's a lot, and that's part of the struggle right now too, is on top of everything that's going on with us personally and the crunches that we're feeling personally, it's the ongoing issues that I'm seeing with people across the board too. Like, we're experiencing things, but like I'm seeing other people experience like layoffs and struggling to pay bills and food. And there was some crazy number of people. They said like 50% of online sales, and I don't have source for this, but I think after they said that, you know, Black Friday online was successful because they got to keep up pretense, right? They got to make sure, got to keep stock market people happy. Can't give any indication that anything's going wrong because then the rich people are going to lose money. I promise. We'll lay off this in a minute. But they were saying something like some crazy amount of the online Black Friday sales were cell phones. Were like cell phones and like ebooks and things like that. And that's insane to me, first off. Like, who all is buying that many? I use my phones until I can't use them anymore. I just can't justify switching a new phone every couple years. So the fact that there was such a large quantity of that was just cell phones, like, blew my mind. And I know, like, they're practically giving away the new iPhone because nobody's. And they still say sales are down. Like, that's the part that blows my mind. And there's nothing new about these new phones. Like, it used to be you would upgrade because there'd be a massive change between, like, I use Androids, but like the Samsung 10 versus the Samsung 15 or something. I know those aren't real numbers, but there would be substantial differences in like the camera, the processing power, the storage capacity, all kinds of stuff. And like there's barely any changes now. Have y'all ever seen that Simpsons episode with Malibu Stacy where Lisa doesn't like the fact because Malibu Stacy's like always they had made her a talking doll and she said all these like ditzy things and she didn't like that. She wanted a doll that was like more progressive, and so she worked with the one who originally created Malibu Stacy to make a doll, and that actually said like I guess more progressive type things, and they were getting ready to sell them, and there was so much interest that the Malibu Stacy company said we have to do something. Like they're doing the marketing, we have to do something to bring people back to our doll. And so then they go and they put a hat on the doll. Like there's nothing else. They just add a hat to it. And like the freak out that happens over this doll's new hat is just it makes me think of it makes me think of cell phones because it's like um, here's the iPhone 13 and then here's the iPhone 15. The iPhone 15's got a new hat on it, or, I don't know, you can get it in new colors or something. Like, are they really changing that much? Gosh. Anyway, I feel like the US, and there are so many things. I could spend, again, 2 hours talking about my personal feelings on the world issues, and I would probably lose a number of subscribers, and I'd probably gain a number of subscribers. I told Chris, I said, one of these days I'm going to get on here and I'm just going to rant. And I try to keep these, especially when I'm coloring stuff for artists, I try to keep these fairly um, okay for mostly everybody. Like I try not to curse too much. I try not to get in the gutter on my jokes too much. I need to restart my After Dark series where things are a little more adult. But I try not to get too political and stuff like that. But man, sometimes I just can't help it because I'm just mad. And right now I'm just mad. I'm not just mad for us, but like I'm just mad for all these people struggling out here, and they're like just the amount of retail email I have received this year. And I do email. And let me tell you, it's always felt like people go crazy with retail email. But this year, it's like they've ignored all the rules. Like it used to be, oh, we just email them about retail, products 2, 3 times a week, once a week, based on their preferences, this and that. Now it's like we got to hit them daily. And we don't care if they hate us and unsubscribe or whatever. Like we got to get this out. And like I'm seeing that myself, and it's not good. It's exhausting. Because nobody has any money to buy this stuff. Like, I mean, I've been fortunate, but I say all this, and like I said, I don't want anybody to, like, we are fortunate, we are privileged, we are lucky, we are a lot of things. This isn't the devastating blow to us that it would be for so many other families. And I say all that from a place of privilege and a place of understanding. I know how hard it is for people out there. And so I just don't want people to worry that, like, we're okay, we're fine. We will be fine. It will all work out. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy because some things need to change. And one of the things I'm doing is going to be like a low buy next year. I'm not going to, well, it's a no buy with a few exceptions. But I'll describe that more in my 2024 plans. However, because I've given myself that end of the year cutoff, I've been a little free flowing with the buying stuff. Over the last month. Though my last couple weeks have been a little better, but y'all are getting another supply haul next weekend because of all the stuff. But like I said, things are going to change drastically in that realm next year. So, because I don't have a choice, and we will be fine, but I do need to make some changes to ensure we continue to be fine. So, I have added all my pencils. Now I am using the Colioro Pearcolors, and this is the gold and silver set. I'm using the sterling silver, and I'm not real pleased with it as I'm doing this because I can tell you now. I wanted a little darker silver. Um, I didn't like that it was so transparent. I wanted something that was a little darker, a little more noticeable from the white of the paper. So I go over with this layer, and then I'm going to come in with the next one up, which is called the Moon Gold, and I layer it over it after I run the little heat gun over it. And it gives it more of an antique gold look, which actually really matches the labels, like that kind of buttery beigey color, really well. So, um, just gonna tell y'all that. Um, God, I'm gonna have to talk. I'm not. This never fails. I always end up going way over, but we'll just show the final picture at the end, and I'll just think I had to restart it. So I had to do 2 layers of the moon gold over the silver, because it was a bit streaky. It wasn't as opaque as I wanted it to be, so I did do 2 layers. I think I did the second layer off camera. And then I came in with a black Pitt pastel pen to reestablish those lines on the little curly Q decorative things on either side, just because it's not opaque enough, but it was just opaque to like thin those lines. So I wanted to make sure those were nice and bold again. And I don't know if I do it on camera or off camera, but I do add a touch of glitter gel pen. His glass frames, I make like a blue, and then I use gold for the buttons on his jacket. And then I actually do a little bit of gold gel pen on the coins. It's just really hard to see unless you shift the page. So yeah, all that's been going on. And however, I will say that I am back at work this week. For those of you who didn't know, I took a 2-month leave from work because I was having some health issues. And as I said in November, I pretty much slept all of October. Just exhausted. Just exhausted over everything. And I didn't start feeling better till right around the time change, when we went back to standard time. I think this is more my natural sleep rhythm, so I think that helped a lot too, but I just didn't start feeling like anywhere close to myself or even like coloring or anything really until the beginning of November. So here is, am I going to show him finished? No, I'm going to do, like I said, I did the second coat off camera because then when I tilted the page, I noticed it was a bit streaky. So I just didn't want to use like a silver gel pen. I realized I don't have a good opaque silver. I have some pretty good opaque golds. The Colieros do well as gold watercolors. It's just that silver is real translucent. Translucent. There we go. What am I doing here? Oh, I think I was showing my husband the picture. So yeah, here I come in with that Pitt pen. But I just, like I said, I didn't want to do just silver gel pen all the way around. I did have a glitterific folk art extreme glitter silver paint that probably would have worked out well. But I like this gold look. I think I'm going to use the other golds. There's like 4 more in here. I'm going to use them on the other sets to give them all like a gold frame just for like a consistency thing. and then do the labels like the Christmas Carol and the name of the picture the same way. So, but yeah, I guess what I'll do is I'll post the final picture and then I'll talk just a little bit more. Now I got my hand in front of my face and I'm probably mumbling. These are really cute. I had fun with this if I just hadn't been so tired. I actually did the watercolor part last weekend, and then just all week I was like, okay, there we go. So here's the second layer. It looks so much better with that second layer on it. It is so pretty. This turned out so good. Oh, okay, y'all get to see it again, all shiny and flashy, because I decided I was going to put gold on the coins, so you can see it there. But yeah, no, I was really pleased with how this came out. I felt like um, the pencil was not as smooth as I wanted it to be, but I'm noticing on like these cardstocks that I'm getting, and that it's just not going to be as smooth as I want it to be. What worked well here was that layer of watercolor pencil on the bottom. That really helps give me a smoother look, just because I'm not covering the whole surface with colored pencil. Then I just add it over the top and then blend it into like the original watercolor layer. So it does make things a bit faster for me. It's less stress, putting as much pressure on my hands and wrists with blending the layers. That's like one less layer I've got to blend. So it goes faster for me this way when I use the watercolor pencil as a base. The pencil part goes smoother for me. It takes less time. It's less pressure on my hands, which this time I was using, oops, sorry, I hit the mic. This time I was using my softest pencils, watercolor and um, colored pencils, so it just kind of went like a dream. So um, I do recommend that combo. Again, it's very expensive, and I just keep stressing that because I don't want anybody to go and like freak out when they see the prices, but it's probably better off for me to use those more, just because I have so much tendonitis in my wrist and my elbow and pain in my right arm. Still going on, by the way, a little bit. The lymph node has, so I had the CT scan done. I got real sick in August, for those of you who didn't know, and it wasn't COVID. They thought it was some type of viral infection, but then it got followed up with a secondary cellulitis infection in my right arm. And ever since that's happened, I had a lot of pain and aching in the lymph node area under my arm. And my doctor was, my new doctor was awesome. We did a CT scan. We did, blood work. He just wanted to make sure there wasn't like any lymphoma concerns or anything. The CT scan, he couldn't tell if they were swollen or not because the way they were kind of lumped together during the physical exam. So we did a CT scan. He checked, the ones under my arm and my chest and stuff, and everything looked cool. Everything looked clear. There wasn't any sign of anything weird, which is great that it wasn't anything serious. However, yet another test where I'm experiencing pain and issues and nobody can find exactly what's wrong. Story of my life. I tell you, I could write a book about that, which is frustrating in its own self. Like, when you deal with chronic illness, especially when you're dealing with chronic illness to the point where when you're still able to, work and still able to function, I don't know, relatively normally to people in the outside world, they kind of look at you and they're like, are you really sick? Like, they don't really believe it, right? And sometimes, and I'm sure other illness people feel the same way, sometimes you almost wish it was something serious that they finally could see in a blood work or an x-ray or something, that you could be like, look, okay, it's like people don't, unless you have unless you have cancer, unless you have like MS or something severe that is showing, like people don't want to believe that you're actually sick. And it's super annoying, it's super frustrating. And people just A, need to mind their own business, and B, need to be less judgmental. Again, could go on for that forever. But I so that finally started dying down, and not hurting as much in October. Funny enough, when I got all that rest. So there is something with my immune system going on in my body. I think it's an autoimmune disorder that nobody's found yet. Fibromyalgia is not considered autoimmune. Um, so I figure there's something else going on, but so far nobody's been able to find it. Um, it's just when I get sick, it's like I get overly sick, and or when I get extremely tired. And that was part of the reason I took the leave, was because I was still hurting, um, and I was exhausted. I was burnt out. Instead of being excited, or excited is the wrong word. I don't know if I've ever been excited about work, but like rather than being really connected to the projects that I was working on and being really into it, like it wasn't just that I was tired. I just didn't care. I was like, it could just all go in the dumpster. Like, the figurative online dumpster. Just, I don't care. And I knew that was bad, obviously. And between that and being in pain and just generally feeling sick and exhausted from the stress levels of this past year, I was like, I just need a break. And it was hard to take that break, especially at a company that it's first off a very high performing team, so we're under a microscope a lot. Two, it can be a competitive workplace because they do like just attrition type layoffs, so you kind of feel like you're under again the microscope the whole time. And I was worried a leave would put a target on my back. Um, and there have been other changes in my workplace. I can't go into detail this year for this year, that have been very very stressful, that have changed, will really was an issue in regards to my medical issues. When I was hired, I was told one thing, and then they were trying to change that this year across the board for everybody. And medically, I just couldn't make that change. And so, um, just all that stress just added up. And I'm glad I took the time off. I probably could have used longer, but this was what I had for FMLA leave. And yeah, it's been an exhausting week. I haven't had a ton going on. The thing is, my company as a whole, I'm not going to express how I feel about them right now, but my team and my managers are amazing. I really love, like, more so than the work itself, I love the team that I work with and my managers. And from what I've learned in the past, that is probably the most important aspect of a job. Like, I will do a job that I don't love if I'm working with people that I love. So, uh, like figuratively love, not, you know what I mean. Let's not make it weird. But I really like my team. And my managers are awesome in that, like, when you come back from something like that or a vacation, they slowly get you back in the swing of things. They're not expecting you to take on like your full workload right off the bat. So it has been a ramp up kind of week. Plus, this is a slow period of time for us, funny enough, because it's non retail email. I have worked retail email for some big box stores. And let me tell you, I hated Christmas all those years. I hated the holidays because retail email is so stressful this time of year. I do not miss it. I never want to go back to that. But the type of email we do is more business to business or business to individual. It's not retail type email. And so this time of year is our slow period anyway, because they are working on setting up the calendar for next year. Um, because of events and people being out for holidays and things like that, emails don't do as well during this period, the type of emails that we send. So this typically tends to be a quiet period anyway, so it's a good time for me to come back and just slowly work my way back in. But it's been exhausting. I haven't been in my office slash studio much for 2 months because I've been resting. And so this week I've been back in here the majority of the day again, and also trying to do some cleaning and organizing. And I'm just exhausted. I really am. Um, it's been just tough. And like I said, Tuesday I had to take two of the cats in for their wellness things, and that was an ordeal. And I'm just physically worn down. I'm getting a lot more tired. I'm struggling a lot more since I got sick in August. I carried through pretty good for a number of years, since about 2017, 2018. I've been managing being sick pretty well. And then I got sick in August, and it's been like ever since things have been a little bit harder. I've had just random aches. The cold, when it started getting like super cold here, I think like mid-November, I typically haven't had a ton of overall joint and pain. Even with the fibro, it flares up during big weather changes. And this weather change and this cold has made it last longer than I think it has in years. Every day I wake up, I'm just sore all over. And it's just been in pain a lot more. And it's just been tough. But one of the things I mentioned was a change in how I work, and it was the remote versus going into an office. I live near Nashville. When I say near, I mean I actually commuted to Nashville for 4.5 years back in like the late 2000, early 2007, 2010. And where I worked was right next to the airport, so I actually didn't have to go into Nashville proper. And my commute was about an hour and 15 one way, which was awful after 4.5 years. And then we're not going to count when I was getting my master's and I had to drive down to MTSU in Murfreesboro. Those days would be 3.5 hour commutes. Never want to go through that again. But Nashville has grown so much in the past like 15 years that hour commute now is 2 hours in rush hour traffic. I had to go see a doctor one year at like 8 or 8:30 that morning, and when I tell you it took me 2 hours, and I was running through the door at my appointment time because the transportation grid and the interstates and everything have not kept up with the influx of people. And so it's like 2 hours. I mean, it's a 4 hour round trip for me now. If I'm going during rush hour, and even if I'm not, it's still an hour and a half. But there was a big push to return to office this year. I'm not going to go into. I'm not going to tell y'all how I really feel about this whole thing, because there's a lot to it, and yeah, I'm just not going to go in a lot of detail about it. But they were talking about it in February, and this was a remote job when I was hired. It was a requirement for me because of my medical issues. And the key thing is, my chronic illness doesn't keep me from doing my job and doing it well. It just keeps me from doing things, to be it like long commutes and sitting in an office all day. Like the things that, which is why I chose remote work and has worked for me for a decade, because before this I worked as a contractor for 10 years remotely. Um, so been dealing with that all year, and I finally had to request an accommodation, which I really didn't want to do because, again, it doesn't really affect my ability to do my job. But I could not do a 4 hour commute and work at the level I'm expected. It just, medically, I just can't do it. And I had to come to terms with that. And so, I spent the time off I had. I was applying for an accommodation, and thankfully it got approved. Um, and I'm thankful for that. So thankful, especially because of recent events. But it does take some stress off of me because this was a big thing for me, where I worried about it most of the year. But yeah, it, again, if you want to ask me how I feel about it, ask me offline. I just, yeah, it's just been, it's been a tough year, not just for me, but for a lot of people. And that's the best thing I can, that's the best way I can summarize it. And just, it's one of those things I haven't wanted to talk about a lot just because I try not to talk about my job much, but this was something that really impacted us. I remember what it was like. And the funny thing is, all my teammates are global. Like, they're spread all over the US, and stakeholders I work with are in like Australia and Europe and places like that. If I had commuted to that office, I would not be working with anyone in that office because none of my team members live in my state, in my region, honestly, even in the southeast. So, yeah. But I guess let's wrap up on some good news because that did get approved. And it's a good thing because, like I said, I'm just trying to get used to it this week. I know I've been doing this for like a year anyway, but just trying to get used to the environment's been, I don't know, it's just been interesting. And it's been frustrating. And like I said, it seems like about every time things settle down, we get hit with something else. So, like in a couple weeks, the week before Christmas, I have to go to Seattle for work. And I could have probably not done it with my accommodation. However, I do like those trips because our team actually gets together and does team building and collaboration activities. And I do feel like that's important, and that's an opportunity for us to get together, see each other, and do that. So I'm pretty okay with the offsite traveling, as long as it's not extensive, and it usually isn't. However, I've been told that more than likely there's another going to be another one happening in January. So, oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, just a ton going on. And coloring wise, as you can see, I've been able to do a few different things, like use my pencils a little bit more. I've been happy about that. I started off really strong on my Jade Summer Advent Calendar, the Christmas countdown. I actually was working ahead, and now I'm like a day, 2 days behind. Which, why do I do this to myself every year? I mean, this happened 30 days to Halloween. Like, I should have known. I should have just said I was going to do one Christmas picture every day. And because then it makes it hard to color in other books too. So, I just, yeah, I'm just still tired. However, I am thankful for the leave I had because of everything that's happened in November. Like I didn't get into, like, my parents' cat passed away, and that was tough for my family, and for me because I hated that they had to go through that. And she was older, and she had health issues. She was like 16 or 17. And then my in-laws got sick, or my mother-in-law got sick. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's just been every week, every couple days, something is happening somewhere. Just, and I guess this is just to say, if that's happening to you, and I know it's happening to a lot of people, I guess you're not alone. um, but I guess to wrap this up, I'm hanging in there. I'm very grateful I took that leave. I don't think I would be as capable of handling all this as if I hadn't of. It was really what I needed to do for myself, and even though I was very nervous, you know, I'm glad I put my health and I put myself first and decided to do that. It was non-paid too, so and I'm grateful that my husband was so supportive about it and was on board with me doing it and understood that I needed to. And so, um, yeah, it's not terrible right now. It's just stressful, I guess, is the way to put it. I don't like being such a downer on these videos, so I guess this isn't really a downer. It's just a hey, there's a lot right now. So I tell you what I'm going to do this weekend. I am going to, because I'm recording this on Friday, I am going to sleep and probably be on the couch a lot. I got half my office basically organized and done. The smaller chunk that's my desk and like my main filming area and stuff. I got it dusted and everything. I am not going to worry about the other side. I have storage drawers not coming till close to Christmas, so it's not like I can put anything in those drawers anyway. But I'm just going to just chill this weekend, I think. Take a break from recording, take a break and just color, just relax. Because yeah, it's pretty much the only way I can handle and cope with stuff right now. Okay. Enough of that. I think that's everything. I didn't really talk about like what we're watching or what we're doing, but I can save that for another. I'm sure I'll sneak in maybe another coloring chat at the end of the month, tell you guys about my trip, tell you about all the things that have been going on in December. So we'll save that for later on this month. Anyway, sorry for the length. I know these usually run long. If you've stayed till the end, I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed the picture. Like I said, I had a lot of fun just doing something a little different, and especially finally coloring a digital download. I do want to complete this series, but it's not going to be in December. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself, so I'm thinking maybe January or February. I'd like to do the 4 characters from Etsy and then that additional Jacob Marley to complete the 5 set. I think would be a lot of fun. So stay tuned. We'll see how that goes, and I hope y'all have a good rest of the weekend. You probably won't hear much from me next week unless I just do like a quick little coloring demo in the middle of the week if I feel like it. You probably won't hear much from me till like next Friday. And then I'm going to try to record a couple videos for when I'm out the following week. But that is a maybe right now. So look for a live stream giveaway in January. We're going to put that out there. But not right now. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.